Right, James, it's been literally weeks on this mega journey we've been on since the beginning. I mean, we've only been doing this for what, a month or two, but yeah, we had a few weeks off. We furloughed ourselves.
Yeah, I think we treated ourselves to a nice little holiday. We had a bit of a battle with Zoom.
Battle with Zoom and also getting pissed on a Sunday, every Sunday. It's not easy.
I mean, it's a tough job, but one of us has to do it, really. I
We,
think two of us have to do it.
so yeah, we've been away for a while, but we're going to try and get back to weekly. But we branded this at the very beginning as a podcast for drinking at home alone during the lockdown. And now we're easing out of lockdown. We probably need to rebrand ourselves to stay relevant and cool and interesting, like we know we are.
I like that. Stay relevant and cool.
Yeah.
Type of mentality to have. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. So how is the industry? I know it's a bit of a daft question to ask, but is it picking up since we've been allowed back in the pub?
Yeah, it's a very strange time. I think it's a bit. I think anyone that's been to the pub, anyone listening now, will have noticed like big differences in terms of how people are served and how businesses have gone around people getting beer. I think like for me, besides the obvious negatives from if you own or run a pub or a restaurant, obviously less customers equals less money. So a lot of those places are going to struggle short term.
Yeah.
But I'm a big I like to be a glass half full kind of guy. Some of the positives that I do see out of it are if it becomes the norm in this country to be able to order drinks on a tap, for example, or table service, stuff like that would be a huge improvement on customer service in this country. Like I was out in Saltaire last Friday.
Yeah.
We ordered drinks by an app to our table. People might not like that, but there was also an option to get drinks like delivered by people. Like you could order drinks at your table. And I thought like that level of customer service should really be the norm. Like
It is on the continent, isn't it?
Exactly. It's strange. I mean, there is a protect pubs at all costs kind of the tradition of it, and I do get that. And I love a pub as much as anybody else, but I think the two can work hand in hand. And if what comes out of this is that hopefully the majority of businesses survive, but we kind of see that move towards a continental system. I think it's going to suit me. Like personally, like my taste now, I think it's a lot more accessible. I think there are a lot more couples and families and people sat out than would be usually on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Simply because people are able to socially distance and it is a less intimidating environment at times. So I don't know, like I say, it's obviously a super tough time. I don't think anyone can take away from the fact that it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, especially around October when the furlough scheme ends. I can see a lot of businesses really struggling.
Okay.
But if businesses can get through it, then I think it could be a super positive time.
Well, people like me, I was listening to what you were saying initially. It was a matter of time and all that until all of these independents were shutting down. But then, I mean, round us and sort of around the country, sort of see on social media and stuff, some of these independents have been doing all right, like using it as a positive, bottle shops and stuff like that, artisan beer places.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we joke about it, but you're like where you live currently is quite affluent, so you'll see people with disposable incomes and stuff in that type of area, especially bottle shops and take away, but they become a luxury.
Yeah.
People's belts tighten, they do become a luxury. So, like I say, it's going to be interesting. And obviously, the way the government's going to handle it in the medium to long term is going to be interesting because obviously it's in their best interest for places not to go broke.
Yeah.
Not only for employment, but the economy in general. So, like in terms of how they managed furlough and stuff, you can only really praise them for that. But it's going to be the next step. Is going to be how they support small independent businesses through the next, and the effects are going to be felt 3, 4, 5 years down the line as well. So
double furlough, imperial furlough. That's what's next.
Yeah, I like that.
Ah, now there's one of those. Right, okay, so the sound's better, but we do have ambulances every so often. That's not us perfecting the soundboard.
Yeah, just to let everyone know, we're having a bit of we've been having this is podcast number 7?
Number 7, well, number 8 we've recorded.
Yeah, so I've recorded the podcast in at least 5 different locations in my flat over the last 7-8 weeks, simply to try and find the best sound. And where I'm sat now at my kitchen table is the best sound, but it's also higher percentages of ambulances. Before we went on air, I did say to Ben, better sound here, much higher emergency services ratio. So if you do,
but it's just, well, it's just a gentle reminder to drink responsibly, and also drink and drive responsibly, separately. Drive responsibly, drink responsibly. Here's a question for you that I've thought of. Can you drink a non-alcoholic beer whilst driving?
I mean, I always feel a bit like I'm breaking the law. I probably am breaking the law. If I'm, say you've got a bottle of water and you're drinking that whilst you're driving.
Yeah.
You're probably driving without due care and attention. If
Yeah.
you get pulled over for drinking a non-alcoholic beer. Yeah.
It's red rag to a bull, isn't it? But is it illegal?
Yeah.
It's
definitely bending the rules if it's not breaking them.
Yeah. I mean, sir, have you been drinking? Yes. Have you been... Am I stepping out of the car, sir? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's a Beck's Blue. No, he's all right. He's all right. He's weird. He's got no mates, but yeah, he's all right.
I mean, give us a shout if you'd like us to review Beck's Blue at any point.
We've got to have some non-alcoholic episodes. We've got to. We've just
got to. My liver is screaming at me now.
Yeah. Too young for this. Well, I mean, we're all for supporting all the independents. So should we go for our mainstay feature, the supermarket beer review?
Yeah, I love this. And also, the funny thing about this intro is we picked a beer we mentioned last couple of weeks that we were going to cover Blue Moon because a few people request it. And the funniest thing about this is the first supermarket beer review we've done, I think, where this beer is actually quite controversial for the way it brands itself.
Okay.
So it brands itself as Blue Moon, and if you look at the bottle, Ben will hold the can up to the picture for the people watching on YouTube. Nice. So if you look at that bottle, it's very simple, pastel blue.
Yeah.
Quite artsy. The thing about Blue Moon is it's actually made by originally Miller Coors, with Molson Coors now.
Oh.
Who are one of the biggest breweries in the world.
Yeah.
So if you drink a pint of Carlin or a pint of Coors or Blue Moon, they're all owned by Molson Coors. So the image it portrays of being craft beer isn't actually true. I mean, its origins and the way it started, which we'll get onto, was very crafty, was very organic, but it is now, especially in the States, it's a big hit. It's become much more popular over the last 5-6 years in the UK.
So it's quite sly, the branding.
Yeah.
You could say that they've maintained that crafty status.
It's interesting for me because I'm quite biased with it, because we'll get on to, so the Rockies, you've probably seen me wear a couple of like Rockies jerseys, Colorado Rockies jerseys when we did the podcast. This beer was actually made, the Rockies were formed in the mid-90s, and when they opened Coors Field, they were there's a place called the Sandrock Brewery there, which is one of the top places on my bucket list to go to. And they were the first place to ever have first baseball field in the MLB to have a brewery on site. And this beer was one of the first beers they ever made, 1995. And it was Belly Stein Wit, it was called. And it's kind of a play on, the head brewer there was a big fan of like Belgian wheat beers and German wheat beers.
Yeah.
And the German Weiss beer. So it's brewed in a similar style to that. So when we spoke before about Francis Canner and
beautiful beer,
and Goose 312 when we were speaking about the American versions of that. It's brewed in a similar way. So for it to be called a wheat beer, we talked about this before, but it's got to have 51% or more than half of wheat in comparison with barley.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, the first thing you'll notice when you look at this beer is it's very cloudy.
It is. Oh yeah, it's orange.
Yeah. So the orange. So the basic recipe of this, how this came about was they use white wheat, barley, similar to the old Belgian styles. But the three big ingredients in this, you've got oats. You've got quite a high oat content, which almost gives it that savoury balance. But the two big flavours you get from it are coriander. So you know how we talked about
what? What?
Yeah, so almost like star anise, almost like anise and like Macy flavour that we got from the wheat beers, the German ones that we tried. Instead of that, this is a big orange and coriander beer. So the overriding taste of this beer is sweetness, really, in comparison with a traditional wheat beer, which is a little bit more citrusy.
Yeah.
So in terms of aroma, if you give this a smell now, in terms of aroma, you'll get that classic yeasty flavour, like we were talking about before with the wheat beers.
Smells nice and orangey as well.
Yes, and so instead of that citrusy, the lemon and limey traditional European smell, you get a big orange hit with this beer. So it's super, super heavy orange.
Well, I've never. I mean, that might sound like I'm sort of feigning bewilderment whenever James says that beers have got coriander in and stuff. I've never tried this beer. I've abstained my whole life because I saw it on tap at Wetherspoons in Manchester, Blue Moon, and thought that it was like a Man City special. You know, like obviously there's Trooper for Iron Maiden, isn't it? So.
Well, I did a bit of research to that because you mentioned that, and I was a bit unsure why it was called that. And it was originally called Bellyside Wit.
Yeah.
And they changed the name to Blue Moon, and I never knew why. But the story is that they called it Blue Moon because when somebody tried it at the brewery, they said, one of the brewers said, a beer like this comes around once in a blue moon.
I mean,
the name stuck forever. So, in terms of taste and stuff,
I'm gonna have my first ever sip.
Live reaction, which is what I like.
Oh, that is. I'll tell you what, right? Because every fibre of my being probably didn't want to like it before. That is. I've been given, free rein to say what I want. That is absolutely lovely. I'm a big fan.
I think for people listening to us and either just getting into beer on, maybe not even being beer fans and just here for us chatting rubbish later on. I think this personally is one of the beers that I will always. This has been like a mainstay of mine over the last 7-8 years to have on bars that I've worked at. And I think it's a super accessible beer for people that don't like beer as well.
Yeah, it's very, very flavoursome. It takes away from the beer flavour. It's sweet.
Sweet and yeasty, and I think you can definitely enjoy it despite it's not, for example, when we talk about beers that we tried over the last few weeks, we talk about Punk IPA. It's not that big hoppy flavour that's just classically beer.
Yeah.
Landlord the first week, and that's big on hops, but then a big bitter afternoon. It's none of that. It is actually sweet and less offensive to the palate.
Less offensive as well than, if you want a jug of Pimm's in the pub, but you don't want people to take the piss out of you. Serving suggestion for this is, slice of orange in there. I mean,
that was my bad. I should have mentioned that, but
Blue Moon o'clock.
I mean, I'm not. It's strange actually. I love this beer, and if I was serving it at a bar that I worked at or a restaurant, I 100% would go with the orange as the serving suggestion.
Yeah.
Simply because one, Instagram pictures, two, like people expect it now if you're drinking Blue Moon.
Yeah.
And with the reason being that the inventor of the initial brewer said that he brought out the flavour of orange and coriander. Now, for me personally, I don't think I'm a delicate enough palate, or I can tell that it actually brings out the flavour because it's delicious anyway.
Yeah.
But it is cool and it is a good selling point. So,
can I ask you something? Just
yeah.
us, just nobody else needs to know, right? So you're talking about like how delicate your palate is. Could you tell me honestly that you can taste coriander in this beer?
I think you've got to, when you know it's there, you can tell. You've also got to remember that there's a huge orange peel balance in this. So
yeah.
So you've got to think about the things that stop it being sickly sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So it maybe balances it rather than.
Yeah. So it's the idea of balance rather than flavour. But you know how we talked about the macy, almost spice, almost like cinnamony vibe in some of the traditional wit beers that we try.
Christmas market candle type scenario.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of that. So instead of, because wheat gives you such a building block, to say framework, but building block words, you can go a bit more mental with the flavours.
Yeah.
Like, you will find, for me personally, I find that quite a lot of wheat beers are much more multi-layered in terms of flavour. You will get sweetness, you will get sourness, you will get bitterness, you will get spice. And I think it's the spice that makes it interesting. Like, I mean, this is, again, we were talking about like gateway beers. I'm hoping that this segment's quite a lot about getting people into beer and trying.
Let's just say, when you're talking about gateways, we're not saying a gateway to spice. If anybody's like listening to this in the car and tuned out, don't smoke spice.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to see some people on spice, then
well,
Town Centre.
We'll delve into that later on. Sorry, I've derailed you there, but you were saying it's a platform for much better flavours, i.e. spice, and you like the spice in this.
Yeah, I just think it's a great, again, it's another good entry-level wheat beer. I think, again, if it's you or your partner or your family or somebody who's looking to get into beer or has a sweeter palate and doesn't usually like beer, this is a great beer to try.
Without being completely Henry VIII, right? You know, there are those beers that you might like buy your girlfriend or whatever and say, no, this is actually one that, you know, you might like. And I know there are exceptions and all that. So I'm talking about my situation and maybe anyone who can relate. This is a really nice fruity beer. It's not too floral. It's not too obvious. It's just nice and smooth.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I did write some food pairings down.
Oh yeah. If you say red meat again, then we know you've just got an agenda here.
No, I'm actually. It's funny this. By the time the podcast comes out, I'll be like 12 days meat free. I think. Currently hitting the few vibes. Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it, mate?
It's absolutely incomprehensible. What are you on about?
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
What's got you into this?
The lacrosse season's around the corner, my friend.
Okay.
Just need to have a bit of a think about. It was beers or meat, and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You got to give it one. It was a tough decision, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, beers are always there for you. Meat can be a bit iffy sometimes.
And I'm telling myself that it's not going to last. So.
Yeah, there are a lot of vegan footballers. Like, they're preaching, saying that it's the healthiest they've ever been.
Yeah.
Are you aiming for like a Schwarzenegger type figure? Because he's a bit vegan, isn't he?
I mean, you can aim high, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, like, even if you aim a bit lower, silverback gorillas are vegan. They don't eat meat or animal products, as far as I'm aware.
They're not. That's
no.
A good fact.
Well, I'm guessing, but yeah, I mean, they're pretty hench, aren't they? In fact, if you think about all the world's biggest animals, most of them land
So
animals.
if you're saying if I put a pepperoni pizza in front of a silverback gorilla, it wouldn't eat it.
I don't know. That Cadbury's advert has actually thrown my opinion. Like, I thought I knew, but then, you know, I mean, you don't know. He can't be endorsing a product he's never eaten. So if they eat chocolate, I mean, it's not a far cry to say they'll eat
That
pepper.
Cadbury's advert, was it actually Phil Collins under the...
I don't know. I hope not, because I thought it was a real gorilla. Maybe if they gave it the pizza, he'd pull the pepperoni off. But then, you know, how dexterous are their hands? Because they've come so far, but not, you know?
It's the opposable thumbs, isn't it?
Which they do have. So, I mean, that's a good test, because I wanted to test the non-alcoholic beer and driving, but, like, I think we should test this instead. This is a proper scientific experiment.
Yeah.
What was her name? Jane Goodall. She went out with went to the jungle with the chimpanzees. She didn't go out with them. She went out with them.
I tell you what, I'll bring the pepperoni pizza. You can bring the silverback gorilla.
All right. Well, we'll go out in Doncaster and we'll easily done. Boom.
So just for food pairings, I did just put a quick couple of things down.
Yeah.
There's a Thai restaurant near us that matches one of their pad thais with
that sounds nice.
Moon. Yeah, and I've just written down like lightly spiced seafood, and again curries. We talked about curries before.
Yeah.
I think wheat beers, especially if you go a little bit more mellow on the curry side, I think there's some great balance to be had there.
Balti and Blue Moon.
Little Balti and Blue Moon, you know.
Yeah. Why is it that no curry places ever sell wheat beer and they all sell Tiger and Cobra?
I think that will change. I mean, you just have to see how pubs and bars have evolved over the last 10, 15 years. I think curry places and restaurants will start to evolve as people expect more.
Have you noticed how everywhere's always had an Indian restaurant, and then Indian restaurants have become old hats, so now everywhere has, like, you know, Bengali, Nepalese, Sri Lankan. It's not good enough anymore to have an Indian.
I think people want authenticity, don't they? So if a family or a group of friends or whoever's running the place and they're from Sri Lanka,
yeah,
don't make generic Indian food or South Asian food. Make like unique traditional food from where you're from, and I kind of like that when I go out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like anything. Anyone with passion's better than someone without.
Just a shout out to a couple of places actually that if you are looking for curry and crafty stuff.
Yeah.
Prashad near Bradford and Drigleton is like the leader of this for me. Kind of the preemptor to the next place I'm going to say, but their beer and curry matching is fantastic. That's all vegetarian. And the same with Blunderbuss as well. They're in Leeds.
Oh,
Manchester.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, their beer pairings and beer selection and food is absolutely outstanding. And super nice people as well. So not that we're getting paid for that advert, but
no.
If you are in the north of England and you do fancy a curry and see what we're talking about in terms of that pairing.
And if anybody fancies a really delicious curry and some extreme weight loss, definitely check out Balti Kitchen in Macclesfield. I mean, I'm not promising anything below or above what it delivers every single time. So yeah, check it out. Those guys, legends.
I like that. Is it bring your own beer?
No, it's not. This is what the place I was actually thinking of. It's like the most sterile, horrible, disinfectant-y lager, but their beer pairings are perfect because it really readies you for what you're about to eat.
I like that though.
I mean, maybe if there's disinfectant in the beer, they hope that it might counteract all of the MRSA in the curry.
Yeah, I love that. I'm spitballing here. We should have probably had this conversation off air, but if people are interested in, if we can find somewhere that will let us bring our own beer in,
yeah,
curry house, I'd love to do a curry night with some beer pairings. Can you imagine if we just turned up with like a case of 6 different beers, and we're just like, This is going to match the jalfrezi. This is going to match the.
Hiya, can we have sharing portions of all of these curries, please?
Yeah.
In fact, go to Revs, get one of those shot cubes, and then just, mate, do you mind bringing out 12 of one of everything?
Yeah, top shelf, left to right.
Can I just say, by the way, the Baltic Kitchen, fantastic place, legends in there. Just couldn't think of another place to make a joke about.
Oh, that was just a cold hard regret. That wasn't it? Cold hard regret.
Well, it's just that I really like them in there, and I do get, you know, I promise that's what the food is like, but they're really nice people, and I know they're listening as well. So
right, should we get on to scoring?
Let's actually get on to scoring, because correct me if I'm wrong, but we've brought in this new scoring system, and I think this is going to be the first time we've ever done it to explain what it actually sounds like or how it goes.
So just to remind everyone, we take the scores for sessionability, affordability, attainability, branding, and taste, and then we add up all those scores, and everything's out of 10, and that gives us a score out of 100 altogether.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with you, Ben.
Okay. Do you want me?
We'll read them out to you if you've got them.
Okay, well, I'm going to go for my sessionability. I've taken into account the fact that I don't think I could get tired of it quickly, because it's not that, I don't know, sharp or outrageous a taste. So I'm going to go for sessionability. Is an 8.5. Affordability, I found. Oh, go on.
Go on, you go through them,
and then you'll tell me where I'm wrong. David. Affordability, I thought this was pretty reasonable. I think it was £2.50 for a bottle, so like, you know, less than some of your craft cans. So again, I'm gonna go 8.5. It's like, in fact, no, yeah, I'm gonna go 9, because I don't think it gets much better than that price, because you do tend to sacrifice a nice beer for anything less. As of attainability, I'll stop waffling. Now, I've had so many troubles buying beers because of the well-documented supermarkets that I live near. But thankfully, in Macclesfield, I was just driving through, thought I'll nip into Sainsbury's. Oh, ye of little faith, we've rubbished Sainsbury's a few times on this, but they've actually, yeah, they've come through for me a few times. I would say attainability, if you live in the Cheshire area, is a solid 8.
Just a quick one on that.
Yes.
I was at work over the weekend, and obviously just shortening Sainsbury's to Sainos, and there's a guy in the bar on the weekend calling Sainsbury's Insainos, which I enjoyed quite a lot.
Oh, that's good. That is good.
Insainos, yeah.
I looked a bit Insainos today, because when they talked about the pandemic and like, oh, you've got to wear a mask in shops, I was like, right, I'm seizing this as an opportunity. I'm not going to wear like one of these blue masks, you know, that sort of look a bit hospitally. I'm going to look online and find some funny ones. And there's an Etsy site where they do ones that make you look like the Tiger King, like Tiger Wood. No, actually, that's not a good one. That's just another tiger. I can't think of any other celebrities. Anyway, the mask that I went for, I thought was like, you know, your classic Donald Trump gurney pout thing, you know.
Nice.
But, well, it is nice until your face is wider than they anticipate, you know, the one size fits most. And so it looks like, because it stretches so far across my face. I mean, I've made kids look really, really frightened, because it's the same skin tone as mine, just. And for those who aren't watching the YouTube, you didn't get to see me do a very odd face. But yeah, so attainability, I give it an 8 from Insainos, as it will henceforth be known. Branding, I'm going to give it, controversially, a 0 for branding, because of the links to Manchester City, which have stopped me drinking this for so long. I don't think that's unfair, to be honest.
Fair enough.
And also, I mean, if you've told us the story, and it's like somebody said, "Oh, this beer comes around once in a blue moon," and they all went, "Oh," and then that story doesn't really do it for me. It doesn't make up for the Manchester City alignment. So 0 for branding.
And taste?
Taste is, I'm going to say, because I'm going to, rather than say how it is, I'm going to say, I don't think we're going to taste a better beer than this from a supermarket. So I think this is a 9.5, because 10 doesn't really exist, does it?
No. I think you've scored it fair.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to differ, obviously, but that's the joy of beer, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, sessionability, this is a dangerous beer. This is a beer that I've seen many people, shout out Levi Cole, who have done some serious damage to themselves. It's 5.5%.
Starting to feel that, to be fair.
Yeah, it's pretty loose. I'm going to give it a 7 though, because like you say, taste-wise, it is delicious. It is moreish.
It is very moreish.
Affordability, if you get this on the 4 for £6 deal at Asda, it's great. I think it's a good product for what it is. It is mass-produced, but again, I'm going to go 8. 8, yeah. Attainability. Now, this beer's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, Sainsbury's have it. I know Tesco carry it. I know. I think Morrison's carried it. I think at least at one point, all 4 of the big hitters have carried it at any point. Co-op carry it. Like, it's hard to find the supermarket beer that we're going to review on here that's going to be as available as this. So it's going to be a 9 for me for that.
Nice.
Now the branding, I'm going to give it a similarly low score, but not for the reasons that you gave.
Is this like when you show you're working at school and you get it right for the wrong reasons?
Well, exactly. I think it's as long as you get the right answer, right? So for branding, for me, I do like how it looks, and it is a classic look, and I think the glassware and the adverts and the bottles and the cans all look pretty decent. But for me, what doesn't sit well with me is it is a mass-produced product.
Yeah.
So, but would I do the same if I was making Blue Moon? Absolutely. So I'm just going to give it a 5 for branding.
You want to give it a 0 and a 10 at the same time because they've done the wrong thing, but they've
exactly.
for the right thing for themselves.
And taste for me, I'm not going to rate it as high as you, but I do think it's delicious. It is a beer that I'll go back to and order if I need it. I'm going to say an 8 for taste.
I think part of my high taste score is that I'm just so excited to be drinking it. I've never had it before, and
it's pretty cool. That though, I just think it's super accessible as well. You know, so it's.
They serve it in Wetherspoons, don't they?
Yeah, as well. So
never spoons actually. Let's just say that. But I mean, in terms of it being everywhere.
72 total. 72 out of 100.
Is it?
Has that got into first place?
I would like to. I think so. I think there were some 70s. It's Club Trop like 73 or something.
Yeah, it's got into second place.
That's fair. That's fair.
In between Club Tropicana and Taylor's Landlord.
Where it belongs.
Which isn't a bad place to be, is it?
No.
I think that's fair. I think we are.
Do you think?
Obviously, with the scoring system that we've done, with everything equally weighted, beers that do well for us are going to be independent brew beers.
Yeah.
That have had some success in supermarkets.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of the scoring system. So don't take too much of our scoring system. It's just our opinions.
Although,
think we've gone wrong and right as well.
Yeah, if you are outraged by anything on the show, definitely get involved. Even if get in touch with us because we could do with the traffic. Quite honestly, even if you hate it, like we always say, get in touch. Let us know, and we'll probably retweet you.
Yeah, just send us hate. I regret saying that, but
well, love is the closest thing to hate. You know, when somebody hates something. I mean, it's a classic, isn't it? You know, when like the biggest homophobe in the world comes out, and then turns out he has a boyfriend. Like, oh, saw that coming. So maybe we could turn haters into lovers in this show.
Make beer not war.
To be honest, James, this being 5.5% is catching up with me. So should we move on to a new feature that's been suggested by one of the listeners?
Yes, let's do it.
It won't surprise anybody to know who's been keeping up with this that James Yates has come up with this as a particular feature. the jargon buster element to the show. Now, I've been hearing things that I have no idea what they mean, and then I've been repeating them where I think it's appropriate. And so I did a bit of Googling this afternoon to, find out what something that I've been saying and like not knowing what it is. It's the double IPA. Now, James, you did describe a little bit what a double IPA is on this show when I completely put you on the spot, if you remember correctly.
Yeah. So this type of double, triple, quadruple is kind of like an interesting, it's an interesting balance between how beers are actually made and how they're marketed. So,
Yeah.
So obviously with an IPA, the story of an Indian Pale Ale is that beers were originally made with a high hop content. So if beers were traveling, they were kept for longer, the beer would keep and not go off. So the hops would ensure that the beer didn't go bad. So a very traditional way of making beer, popular centuries ago, and then has started to become a lot more popular recently.
With the show, is our aim to take this to India? Is India like the mecca of IPAs?
I don't think that's the... I mean, the mecca for IPAs now is the East Coast of America.
Okay.
If you're offering me, probably go to the East Coast of America and drink beer, or India and drink beer. Unless we're going for the cricket, then... Or we could do... Let's just aim for both.
Yeah, America's a bit shit for the cricket, but we'll be sponsored by then. So we could just do both, yeah?
I like that, do both. So, in terms of a double IPA, there's kind of a wife's tale, or how it's marketed.
Yeah.
Is that the first person to make a double IPA accidentally used too much of the malt in the mash in what you used to make the beer.
Yeah.
And instead of throwing that away, he or she just increased the hop content
To match it.
So now that this beer has loads and loads of malt, it's all of that malts provide for the fermentable sugars. That's how you make the alcohol.
So it's boozier.
So a double IPA will tend to have double the number of hops in it and be more boozy. Not necessarily double the booze, but more boozy.
Yeah, I always think it was like a double spin on a washing machine, like it's been made once and then they make it again to make it even. But no, that makes more sense.
Well, this is where it comes into marketing. This is where I was going to say is that now the common theme is that people take breweries or marketers or whoever take this idea and run with it.
Yeah.
So you may have a double IPA that does have double the content, and I think most of the double IPAs will have double the hop content.
Well, what I've got here is that they tend to be richer in texture, more hoppy, and an ABV of either 9 to 10%, and then another source said 7.6% to 10.6. So your evening ruiner category.
Well, yeah.
In the wrong serve. In the wrong quantity.
The point I'm trying to make is that the doubles, especially, tend to be naturally occurring. Say, for example, a beer that you have an IPA that would be at 6%.
Yeah.
Like classic IPA, and it's double hopped and it's 8%. It's the way of brewing it that makes it that percentage.
Yeah.
Whereas triple and quadruples, there are beers out there that use that much hops, but it's also a good marketing tool for companies. So, for example,
it makes them sound unique.
Yeah, so a quadruple hopped IPA could be 4 different hops, but all of a lower quantity.
So it's not technically.
So the overall hop content might. Yeah, so it's
that of a double.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the biggest explosion in. I mean, the two styles over the last 5 years, especially in the UK market, that have exploded, have been the doubles and triple IPAs, etc. Just IPAs in general.
They are, but they are absolutely delicious. Like, there's no. We were talking yesterday, weren't we? And I told you that I'd had an 8.6. An 8.4%. Actually, it was 7.4% beer. Now that's the best beer I've ever tasted. It was by Drop Project. I don't actually know what the name of it was. mainly because of the fact I drank 2 pints of it. But
Oh yeah, just a quick aside to this. Ben was telling me a story yesterday where he basically got strong-armed into drinking 2 pints of 8.5%.
It was just, well, I went to the bar. I was like, oh, that sounds nice. I'll have a pint of this, please. No. You don't want this. You want this one. I was like, you look at the price. You do the usual. Look at the price. Look at the percent. And, the percent wasn't even on there. And I was like, it just said DIPA. I was like, I do a podcast with a friend who knows about this. I know what you're trying to do. So I was like, no, I'm all right. Thank you. I'll have, the one I asked for. He goes, no. Honestly, have this one. It's lovely. And if you don't like it, then you can order the one you wanted, the next time. I'm thinking, your will's stronger than mine, and I don't want to seem, rude. So what percentage is it? He's like, whatever it was, 7.4, 8.4. It's like, I'm only here for one, and like, yeah, but your girlfriend's having a gin and tonic, so it's pretty much the same thing. So James did the maths, didn't you?
Yeah.
So whilst go on.
I can't remember what it was. It was madness though, wasn't it? All right, I've got it up here. Cleve books we used. So it was 8.5%, and it was. It's just a madness, Ben. To be honest, it's what was it, 11.40 for 2 pints.
Yeah, you were telling me that you shouldn't drink it by the pint, but that was the only. I asked for a pint of something quite weak, and that was the only option for me at that point.
So Ben's 2 pints.
And I felt okay. Was
9.7 units, and so he was saying that Beck was drinking gin and tonics at the same time.
Single gin and tonics.
Yeah, it's just the equivalent of just under 10 single gin and tonics, or 5 doubles.
So after my nearly 10 gin and tonics, I learned a lesson, which is that these double IPAs, whilst delicious, are not very good for you. But I wouldn't take it back, to be fair. They were it was Drop Project. I'm going to look into them more. I think they're from Wigan, somewhere around there.
Your neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods, yeah. And then these triple IPAs that we've been talking about, debatable whether they even exist, like if it's not just a strong double or a triple, but they have the same sort of debates in Newcastle, don't they, where there's trebles bars, and then are they serving you trebles? Because that's really unhealthy.
It's not ideal, is it?
No, I mean, my friend Alex Calder, who I think we've mentioned on the show once or twice, friend of both of ours on the show, brewer of an Imperial IPA. He had a triple Ray Nephews and Diet Coke once. And whilst that might sound boring to anybody who's not drank Ray Nephews before, or Ray and Nephews, to give it its own horrible name, absolute night ruiner for him. That, I tell you what, if we're talking about drinks that go with curries, that was one that definitely didn't, as we came to realise.
That's a madness, that. Just everyone, Ben, if you could ad-lib for about 10 seconds, I'm just going to switch the light on in my kitchen so I don't feel like I'm in the darkest room of all time.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment none of you have been waiting for. The knowledge is gone and the enthusiasm is remaining. A double IPA is also known as an Imperial IPA, which is why they think they came up with the name double IPA, because it had 2 I's at the beginning. So an IPA, yeah, interesting. It turns out from a bit of research that we use the double IPA in Europe, and the Americans, as is their tendency, use the Imperial. So you get an Imperial IPA in America and a double IPA in Europe. I'll tell you what, as ad-libbing goes, I thought I was going to talk about something lasciviously filthy or something, but no, bit of beer knowledge.
I was expecting the filth, but I'm sure people are going to appreciate the beer knowledge, mate.
Yeah, people keep saying, I really, really enjoy the show for the beer knowledge. I think that's not my bit, so I've tried to do a bit more.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold.
Yeah, but it's cold, but it's meant in a nice way.
That's fair enough.
Because, when the compliments were ringing in at the beginning, like, oh, guys, show's great. And then, the people who actually carried on listening or actually made it through a whole episode, like, yeah, I listen mainly. I mean, Rob Jakes is one who said, yeah, I mainly listen for the beer knowledge. Like, I don't contribute to that.
I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice, mate.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, maybe I'm like, a live sort of version of, getting into the beers and getting carried away with it, really, because my transformation over the last few months, when people take pictures of themselves, before doing a load of exercise and then afterwards, I don't know what the equivalent would be apart from probably the reverse. I'd be like, this is me before drinking double IPAs and professing my knowledge about them before knowing anything. And this is me, well, Transformation Tuesday. But yeah, so that's a bit of a jargon buster. If anybody wants to know or wants us to break down any jargon around the beer terms, message James directly because he knows.
Yeah, all my stuff is on our Twitter and Instagram. Just follow me, and please don't be a weirdo. Talk to me about beer and stuff.
Oh yeah, if you want to be a weirdo or talk about anything like, will gorillas pull the pepperoni off a pizza, which I actually want to explore a lot more than we're going to. Definitely get in touch because that's my what's it called? I want to say jailhouse, but that's not what it is.
That's your wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse Van Houten.
Right then. So the top 3, we do it every week. And this week we're going to do shit towns. This was not a decision that was taken lightly. It's something that we've wanted to discuss. Recently, they produced some unofficial, official BuzzFeed level statistics for this one. And we thought, with it being topical, we'd weigh in a bit and say for what reasons we think they are, but equally condemning them to be shit towns. So, James, what's your number 3, your least of your 3 shit towns?
Right, so I've been thinking about this for a while.
Oh, as have we all.
Do I do it? Do
I
say? I'm going to say it, and people should say I should have hometown pride. I should have whatever.
Yeah.
But after 30 years, my parents are finally moving away. I'm finally saying it's Keighley, West Yorkshire.
Right. This actually featured on this official posting for the worst places to live in the UK. I think it was number 7.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the rugby club. People who know me love the Cougars. Try to go as much as I can around work and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best days. One of my favourite clubs in the world. The Malt Makers is there. I know a lot of people from when I grew up there and whatever. But it's not necessarily the people or even the drinking scene or even the rugby club that makes it bad. It's literally everything else.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Tell us about Marks and Spencer's. Go on, what's happened?
Well, it's just gone. It's not there anymore.
Macclesfield nearly fell victim to that, but managed to keep its Marks and Spencer.
And I always feel like, because I had in my head was Keighley and Bradford. And on a personal level, Keighley is...
What, the place you live and the place you used to live?
Yeah, and I mean, Bradford, I can see there's potential in it. Keighley, I struggle to see the potential.
Bradford has a Nando's, so it's above most places.
2 Nando's.
Oh, Imperial Nando's.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's the only restaurant in town, but it's yeah, I just really struggle with it, and I finally come to the realisation that I don't think I can defend it anymore. And that's that point to get to, isn't it? But yeah. So I started with a sad one.
I was going to say that's quite morose. So I thought we were going to be poking fun and talking about well.
The other two are more upbeat. So I'll let you go with one, and then see what
Okay. Okay. Well, I've had a couple. So when I was younger, we went away with our mates, and we were like 17, and you get I was going to say bundled up in the back of the van, but that's not what I meant. We went out taken to a campsite by our dads, and sort of stationed there with tents and a load of beers, and we thought, right, this is it. This is what being grown up's all about. Now, I was late to the drinking game. I will admit that. So this was an absolute revelation for me. And so we were like, right, should we go to the pub? And everybody thought, no. But, much like being at Nando's, you don't want to be the one who's the softest, and it will be obvious in this situation. So we all thought no, said yes. And so we started on a walk into town to go and find a pub. We walked quite a distance, to be fair, and Bangor is a university city. Like, you'd think there's quite a lot going on. We didn't know this at the time about it being a uni city. But anyway, one day, a couple of miles, and we managed to find a petrol station. And we're like, all right, well, we're pretty hungry, and we're probably not going to find a pub to eat, so we'll just go and buy some sandwiches. They had no sandwiches and no beers. So we walked back to the campsite, you know, not defeated, but, you know, just got stuck into the beers that we were given. Probably, you know, 0.05%. And we thought we were hard as nails. So then, for one reason or another, we got inclined to do a half marathon. And we couldn't do the half marathon we wanted to do. So we did the Bangor half marathon instead. And I've been training minimally.
Is this the same weekend or years later?
Oh, sorry. Years later. It's not, yeah.
Okay.
Stuck into the veers of a 17-year-old then. Right. Morning, boys. We running 13 miles. No, so yeah, Beck and I, a few years later, went to go and run a half marathon. And afterwards, you know, it's all good. Like, you've finished it. The worst part of the day is definitely over. It's misery. Hats off to anyone who ever has done an actual marathon, because at no point after finishing did I think, fancy doing that again, you know.
Turn around and run to the start, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just, I mean, yeah. But then it's really, I think they should rename the half marathon to something else, because it's just, instead of recognizing what you've just done, it's recognizing what you didn't do. Do you think?
Well, it's like a glass half full thing, though, isn't it? Are you a half full marathon or a half empty marathon?
A marathon half full. Yeah. All right. Okay. I like that. So anyway, we went to this and we did the half marathon, and then I was thinking, right, you know what? I fancy getting stuck into the beers and having a pizza or a curry. And unfortunately, none of the pubs were open or any good. Food wasn't being served. So, I mean, it can't happen twice in, you know, such a large time span and it be a coincidence. I'm not having it. So we went to Asda because it was the only supermarket nearby. And, you know, I thought my stars had aligned because I found a Vindaloo curry pizza. And I was like, sure, you know, it'll be spicy, but, you know, it's like, it's supermarket curry spicy. It's not going to blow my head off. It does sound like the dream, doesn't it? So we took it back to where we were staying, and I battled through this Vindaloo curry pizza, and it was probably one of the worst decisions I ever made. And I'm you know what, interesting for me. I'm not even going to go into why, but yeah, the lack of places to eat, and the fact that there's no nightlife in a university town, and the only famous people that I could find that come from there are Duffy, who's been in the news recently, and Wayne Hennessy, who's been in the news recently as well for doing a Nazi salute in front of a German footballer. And then his defense was, oh, sorry, I've never heard of the Nazis. And so he had to go on a what's it called?
A Nazi awareness course.
A Nazi awareness course.
Otherwise, he gets 3 points on his license and an £85 fine.
So yeah, he had to go on a Nazi awareness course to learn why you can't, you know, Hitler salute at German players. And it was a big eye opener for him because he'd never heard of it before. So the fact that it can raise Wayne Hennessy as well has got to be a massive strike against its name. So yeah, Bangor.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I've got a similar one for you actually. Not in this country though.
Oh, I didn't know we could go international.
I mean, it was just shit towns, right?
Do other countries have towns?
Well, this is definitely a town.
Okay. Because Bangor's a city.
Oh yeah. I mean, my last one's a city as well. So.
Right, go on then.
Have you been to Gibraltar?
No, I haven't.
Right. Gibraltar itself, very British. In fact, more British than Britain. Union Jacks everywhere. Every pub's like the Red Lion or the Dog and Duck and the Queen's Head.
Yeah.
Like partisan English.
Yeah.
But because of the Spanish relationship with Britain about Gibraltar, I think Spain have deliberately made the town outside it, La Linea de la Concepcion, about the worst town I've ever been to in my life. It's run down.
Did you think like, oh, we'll just go and see what the old town's like?
It's wild. It's run down. It's apparently full of brothels. It's like it is wild. I mean, we've got a friend over there. Pat lives over there.
Yeah.
And if you ask him about it, it is one.
He lives in Gibraltar, not brothel section.
Oh, yeah, well,
the Red Lion district, not the red light district.
I was trying to leave it to interpretation, but yeah, I mean, all of the people that work on Gibraltar actually live quite far away in nice, like, gated communities and beachside resorts. But La Linea, yeah, I wouldn't recommend anybody spends more than 5 minutes there. The only time anyone spends any time there is when the Spanish passport control are being cunts and not letting people in to Gibraltar.
Well, that was a big thing, wasn't it? They were saying that what happens with Gibraltar. Actually, you know what? I don't think there's a lot of legs to this conversation because I have no idea how it works. So, but yeah, that was going to be a thing, wasn't it? That people were going to be stopping over in La Linea. And I mean, what on earth would you do with all your time there?
Hookers and blow.
It's like a car wash. So yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it's nice and varied. I tried to vary. I mean, do you know any famous people who come from there, or come there in general?
Oh, well, I've come there. Stories these walls can tell, mate.
Are you done with La Linea throwing shit at it?
I'm done with La Linea. Get out.
Okay, right. I've tried to vary all mine because it would be easy to pick like northern towns and just absolutely slate them, but I've gone for a northern town. I've gone for the biggest northern town actually as it goes. Doncaster, I think, is the biggest northern town as it by definition, because it doesn't have a cathedral, and I think it's an absolute fucking shithole. I'm not going to hold back on this one because I'd feel bad if anybody there considered themselves to be a nice place. But for, travel reasons, I ended up meeting a few mates, and I was there an hour before their taxi was able to pick them up. So I thought, I'll make the best of this. I'm going to have a wander around Doncaster. This was a few years ago, by the way, before they got the cotton market or whatever it's called. And yeah, I thought I'll have a stroll. And when I went into my first 3 pubs to see what they were like, and they all had disco balls and like a selection of sandwiches as if I'd walked into somebody's party, I was like, it's probably not a good vibe, this. And I did find a pub with some live music on, but it wasn't great. I was like, excuse me, fellow human being, sounding like the worst kind of person. I said, excuse me, I don't suppose you could tell me where might be good for a drink round here? And he said, nowhere, mate, you're in Donny. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, fair enough. It's got a maritime climate, which means there's no extremes, which, I mean, yeah, like, that's a given in fucking Doncaster, isn't it? It's famous for its distribution centres, i.e. carting things out of there, which, lucky for them. Famous people who come from there: Brian Blessed, Tony Christie, Kevin Keegan, and Louis Tomlinson. Now, say what you want about that collection of people. That is a good night out.
That's a wild collection of people.
I.e. not in Doncaster. And I think the best part of the whole place is when you're waiting for a train on your, inevitable exit, if you can't get to one of the distribution centres first. They have this free-for-all, all-you-can-eat, which is busy every hour of the day. And you're a fan of people watching.
Yeah.
Well, this is where you see if a gorilla would actually pull the pepperoni off a pizza, because you can test it live.
Carrying the gorilla in a crop top and trap stamp.
Fuck me, man. I didn't realise actually until I'd had a few blue moons that I'm really not a fan of Doncaster. Been out there a few times, and actually we went there the other month before whilst we could, and it had improved quite a lot. But because of the mental scarring that I'd received from being there a few times before. Dreaders place. Dreaders.
So, my number one. I mean, a huge shout out to one that I'm tempted to say, but I couldn't bring my heart to say it.
Should we have an honourable mentions at the end?
Yeah. So, well, this one kind of leads in. So it's I was going to say Blackpool.
Okay.
It's so horrendous that it's good. The sights, some of the stuff you see on nights out there, like we go quite a lot, and we're going to have like our friendships group, like end of season awards dinner and stuff. And it is so bad it's good. But I've decided not to say that. I'm going to say one that's quite controversial, I think. London.
Oh, now I wondered if we were going to say one that was the same, and we aren't. But yeah, London. Go on.
It has, like, and by any means that people can take me out down there, whatever. I've been down. I did go down to London, like, between the ages of, like, 15 and, like, 25, maybe.
Yeah.
Other than, like, for the football. And I didn't think I missed it. I've had some good nights since, like, but the majority, it's like, pubs close early.
Yeah.
It's quite expensive. It's full of dickheads. Like, I like, Camden Market was cool.
Yes.
Parts of Soho that we went for the football. If you go with the football as a group of you, and you've got, like, the inside track, like, meeting up with, like, supporters group, whatever, it's good.
But you could go anywhere and have a good time with your football mates, couldn't you? Like, some like-minded individuals. You go to Blackpool or even, dare I say it, Doncaster.
Yeah, I think it's massively overrated as a, like, I would stack the Northern Quarter in Manchester against any part of London for affordability and fun and being able to book a hotel for 30 quid and not 150.
Yeah, when you're getting the same thing, like the same beer or the same hotel or the same amount of fun for ridiculously more money.
But also, if we're out in Leeds or hit Sheffield or hit Manchester or wherever we go, like, there is a level of, like, there is some snobbishness from bartenders, but there isn't anything like there is when I've been in London, when it's like...
There's a bit of soul, a bit of authenticity.
You're also a medium-sized fish in a medium-sized pond, whereas in London, you're a minnow in an ocean of people not giving a fuck because they're going to make money anyway. It's a strange one. I mean, people probably slate me for that, but I'm sticking with it, London.
So shit towns, London. Your number one shit town. My number one, this actually came top of the recent poll, but this is one that I actually went to. And now this is expectation versus reality territory, because when you hear about somewhere, in Cambridgeshire, you think, ooh, hello. And we were going away for work for a few nights. So I was like, ooh, I've never been to Cambridgeshire before, but I've heard it's nice. They call the football team the Posh. And I was like, Peterborough's got to be the one, hasn't it? I'm going to go over there and it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing.
I love this because I'll get here as well and it's a shithole.
Fucking hell, man. Why is it so behind the times? I mean, they're still tattooing each other with biros in, like, what looks like fighting scenarios because everybody's got them. And, I mean, you can't survive on just fish and chips. I know they're trying, but, like, you can't. It's not even coastal, so why are they trying? I looked at it and I looked at notable people and somebody who has the key to the city. I was looking at it on Wikipedia and it was Tommy Robinson. And I was like, no way. In 2020, there's no way Tommy Robinson. Anyway.
As in, like, Stephen Yarnold, the same Tommy Robinson.
No, unfortunately, I misread it and it said Tommy Robson. But you know what? Shouldn't that be...
Oh, right.
Shouldn't that be, enough? Because I thought that was true, that I so I think that's got to be a strike against Peterborough, that I could vaguely believe that. They've not got a Premier League football team anywhere nearby, which is a big deal. There's no reason to go there. And the only notable person, so like, Bangor had Duffy and Wayne Hennessy. Doncaster had an illustrious list of famous people from there. Peterborough, the only person I could find that would actually, sort of ring true with a few people or that anybody would know is Aston from JLS. And his parents hated Peterborough so much they named him after somewhere outside of Birmingham. So, you know,
From JLS. I like that.
Aston Marigold. Look him up. He's pretty famous, mate. But Peterborough, I think, yeah, for the expectation versus reality, he's got a couple of Weatherspoons. So if it didn't come with such a reputation in my own head, I might have been a bit more lenient towards it. And also, I left my phone in the strip club there, and they told me I didn't. But yeah, anyway, yeah, that's Peterborough.
How are the dancers?
I have no idea.
I love that.
So
denial.
No. We actually went to some stand-up comedy recently on Friday, outdoors in Chester. Chester, top tier place to go for everything. It's a great city. It's got the races. It's got great bars, great feel. Looks old, but lots of young professionals there. Couldn't recommend it. Anyway, Alexander's in Chester's doing an outdoor comedy event, and one of the comedians. Well, we sat on the second row because you don't want to be on the front row, and yeah, one of the comedians. Nobody turned up in the front row, so we were the front row, the new look front row. And he was like, "Hey, have you ever been to a strip club?" And I was thinking, "Oh, I know. Have you ever had a lap dance?" I was thinking, "Oh, I don't want to I don't want to, I don't want him to ask more questions." And I didn't know if I had or not. So I was like, yeah. And it went away. Everything was fine. And then Bet went, what? I was like, I don't know. But anyway, the comedians had roasted us a few times before this. So this was just like flying the ointment,
You know, like the Simpsons stop him, he's already dead meme.
It's exactly what it was. He was kicking me when I was down. Right, should we move on to our newest feature? Well, second newest, I suppose, but certainly the most exciting because we've got this music to go along with it. So, James, what are we doing for our lager shouting today?
Right, well, I thought we'd move away from a generic brand of lager.
Of course.
We've actually gone for a group of lagers.
Fresh, interesting, new ideas.
So this is a much maligned group of lagers, but spoiler alert, one of my personal favourites, and that is the Stubby.
Yes. Show up to the camera. Well, we've got different ones because we live near different supermarkets.
So mine is I just wanted to kind of talk about this just because mine's a brasserie. Brasserie, quality brewers.
And that is where prostitutes work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brewed in La Lydia, I think.
Got a tap room.
So it's a 250 milliliter bottle.
Yeah.
4%. And 10 of these today cost me £3.09.
Ooh.
So that's working out at 31p a bottle.
So you've backed the Aldi Stubby.
Express, yeah.
So Sainsbury's, the Sans Savoir. It sounds French. It probably is. It says it is. It comes in at £3.25 for 12.
Wow, love it. What percentage?
4% as well, mate.
It's the same beer, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, I went on the Sainsbury's website, actually. Interesting you say that. And I wanted to get a bit more information about it so we could do like a top trumps type segment on this. And it said, brewed in France. And then extra information, comes in a small green bottle. Like, right. It's probably not going to be enough for the podcast, that. I mean, likewise, yours is pretty nondescript. This says it was brewed in France for Sainsbury's supermarket.
Brewed for Aldi stores in Ireland.
Right, so yours is brewed in Ireland, mine's brewed in France. I think yours is an imposter, to be fair, mate.
I don't mind it, though. I think, like, I'm not really going to talk too much about taste for this. I'm going to talk about, one, it's unbelievable value.
They taste the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two, they taste exactly how you expect a cheap lager to taste.
Yeah.
I think they're unbelievable to take to parties.
Well, you feel like Andre the Giant, or people think you look taller when you drink them?
I mean, if you can get past the the social shame of it, which obviously I don't care, but like if you can get past not bringing a brand name lager to a.
Right, so you happen to find yourself at the same party as like Megan Fox, and you would not care at all when you're wandering up to her with a Sans Savoir or a Brassiere Blanc.
Right, we say this, but say I've had like one party a week for my adult life. That makes me at like 700 parties, maybe 800 parties.
Okay.
Exactly zero of them are doing with Megan Fox. So
yeah.
I don't need to really worry about Megan Fox being at my parties, do I?
So theoretically, though, but also like maybe that's because you're drinking Stubbies. Maybe that's what it is.
Like if Megan Fox is here, I'm probably going to break out the Dom Perignon.
Probably, yeah. Like, oh, well, we've been looking for an excuse here.
At least try, yeah. So yeah, I just think the unbelievable value. I think if you were to give me an option to have 1 million of these or 1 million Fosters, it's not even close. I think it's a way better product than Fosters. I think it's a better beer than Carlsberg.
What on earth kind of scenario is that? Excuse me, mate. I've got 1 million Fosters here or 1 million Brassiere Blanc. No, right. Well, let me just let you know that the Fosters is actually worth more. And you're like, no, mate. Just in here.
No.
So you're gonna have like a Kendrick Lamar swimming pool, but full of Brassiere Blanc.
How sick would it be if you just ran a little bottle shop in the middle of like London town, and the only thing you sold was like cold ones of these, just a pound of beer in the middle of London? You'd make a fortune.
Yeah, Marlboro Reds and them.
Cowboy Killers. And maybe like late night you could roll out like a little kebab stand.
Do you remember the Tesco's beers, the beer specials that we used to be so fond of, and then they discontinued? They were premium lager.
If people ever asked me what the moment I felt like uni got off the rails,
yeah,
there's quite a few post-Welly stories. And by the way, just a shout out to Welly for closing down.
Welly's the ginormous nightclub in Hull that we all went to, the indie nightclub. It's gone.
Best nightclub of all time.
Yes.
So some of the stuff that happened after Welly, legendary, can't be repeated on here. Wild things. Where I've thought, where is my life going?
Did you say that just so I wouldn't butt in and say something that can't be repeated on here? I'm thinking.
But before Welly, the reason that I knew we were going to shit was the day that we were pre-drinking and somebody brought us their pre-drink. So like my pretty standard offering from the supermarket was a bottle of vodka, Sainsbury's Basics, and some Iron Brew, a 2 litre bottle of Iron Brew. That did my pre-drinks was about £8. Somebody started to bring a deck of what were the beer special?
Beer special.
And a bottle of vodka, and the beer special was the mixer.
What?
And I knew, yes, I know, and that's when I knew that everything wasn't okay.
Well, right, that person must have absolutely been from Doncaster. There's no two ways about it.
Or Peterborough.
No, Peterborough, they're not even operating. They're not even going to the supermarkets. I'm not like that's not fair to say. Yeah, well, I mean, I can't really argue with that. But so these beers, lager shouted, is all about the good and the bad and the ugly. So should we just judge Stubbies as a collective? Because no matter where you go, they'll go wherever you will go. They'll be there. So they're all the same, probably brewed in the same place in, what's it called?
La Linea.
La Linea. They're all brewed in La Linea. They all taste the same, all the same percentage, all the same bottles. What we're saying, good, bad, ugly.
Should we go 3, 2, 1 and then say it?
3, 2, 1. Good.
Good. Yeah.
That's probably the Zoom delay, to be fair. But yeah, right. We are saying good. So there you go, guys. If you're ever short of something to drink and you can't find any Blue Moon from this episode, take home the fact that you can drink Stubbies without any judgment unless you bump into Megan Fox. And then we'll have to ask her opinion.
And if you go to a party or you're out and somebody judges you for drinking stubbies, just forward them to us and we'll have a word.
Oh, we could get them on the show.
Yeah.
Right. Very quickly then, should we round off?
Let's do it.
We're going to do a series of fundraisers, including the charity walk that James has mentioned previously. I'm doing a bit of a run, which I've been training for, which is way harder than what I thought it would be, to run 16 miles in a hilly environment. But we're getting there. The walk, James is going to tell you some info on now.
Yeah, so anyone who wants to get involved, we're still looking for some sponsorship or people to come down on the evening. So basically, for anyone who hasn't listened or heard us, we're setting off from Liverpool on the 26th of May next year, planning to work 30 miles a day-ish along the Leeds Liverpool Canal.
Yeah.
So we get to Saltaire Shipley area on the Saturday the 29th. We're planning on having a big fundraiser that evening, and then the plan is to walk the last 12 and a half miles from Saltaire to Leeds together as a big group about 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, which is a bank holiday Sunday.
It's going to be awesome. The weather's going to be good. I mean, because May is always the best month of the year, as this July showers is proving.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to say that if anyone does want to get involved, I would do a day or two with us. That'd be amazing.
Well, let's just say that anybody listening, that we mean you, like literally anybody. If you're listening and you're thinking, right, well, I could do with I fancy going for a few beers whilst walking down the canal. I mean, it's going to be a long, long walk every day. So, but yeah, anybody, everybody, the more the merrier, literally.
Yeah, and just to top that off, any help that we can get or any support, or if you fancy dropping us a line and coming for the Saturday night, we have got a band booked and all that stuff. It's going
to be insane the Saturday night. It's going to be so good.
So yeah, if you do want to get involved, please let us know. Just to say we're raising money for Hexham Hospital. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Where Ben's granddad was looked after, and mine's for my charity of choice is going to be the Leeds Heart Centre for LGI. So it's just where our man was looked after and where I've been looked after when I had a bit of a heart scare. So it's a charity quite close to our hearts and just something we wanted to do for a while.
I mean, you definitely didn't intend that pun, but you did it.
I don't know what pun I did, so I'm just going to say, yes, I did intend that.
Is it a charity quite close to our hearts?
Oh, yeah. I didn't intend it, but I'm sticking with it. I like it.
It was a heartfelt pun, wasn't it?
Put a stop to that. Anyway.
You know, when we try and round off and we just end up rambling.
Yeah,
but
ramble all the time.
But yeah, no. So we're going to be. The aim of this was for 2, 3, maybe 4 things. I can't remember. The list might get longer. But we wanted to do it because we enjoy it. Also to try out just seeing if we could actually do this sort of thing, and if we can actually, raise some money for decent causes, then it just everybody wins. So, although thank you very much for listening to every episode that we've made. If anybody listens, it's just an absolute bonus. We love it. And if we can, like I say, if you can get involved with us and help us raise some money for these good causes, we'd be very, very, very appreciative.
Cool.
I think
that's your lot.
I think we should call it a wrap. Right, mate? Thank you very much. Until next time. And if Zoom deletes this recording, then we are never, ever using them ever again. Right. Love you all. Thanks very much, everyone at home. See ya.
Bye.